Morning, ladies and gentlemen, I'm meadsyreplays. Welcome back to the channel. Now, before we get into today's video, Huawei App Gallery are doing another campaign from the 1st of the 1st, 2024 until the 29th of the 2nd, 24. Huawei are giving away coupons for up to 30% off anything you buy in the Blitz store. So you could get 30% off the price of the goods in the game. On top of that, you can get 5% back in Huawei points. So basically, with that, you can spend anything in the Huawei App Gallery store. So 30% off anything in-game using the coupons in this description. So links are in the description. If you are a part of EU, it is easy to do. If you're not part of EU, you may have to use a VPN. It is very, very simple. Download Huawei App Gallery now. The link is in the description. Back to today's video. Today's video, we're going to look at tanks that, by stats, looking at stats, you should not buy. You should stay away from these tanks because they are the worst tanks in the game. Now, I'm not agreeing with everything that is in this list. I think some of them are actually pretty good, but according to stats, they are the worst performing tanks, well, premium tanks in the game. Now, we are going to sort of go down the tiers, so we're not just going to pick all one tier. We're going to go down tier 9, tier 10, tier 9, tier 8, tier 7, tier 6, and so on. So these are just going by stats. Obviously, people have seen Droodles' video the other week where he called out a guy and pretty much said that it is the worst channel ever in What Blitz because of his opinion on what tanks that you guys shouldn't buy. Now, again, like Droodles, I don't agree with the guy's list, but it's his own opinion, and I think that's the best phrase that I have on this channel. Like, everybody is entitled to an opinion, and I get, yes, he is telling people that sometimes it's a bad tank, and I do the same. I'm not going to lie, like the AMX 30B, for example. I got a lot of stick from that, but I'm just telling you my opinion. I can't tell you a good tank or a bad tank based on your opinion. I can only talk about it from my opinion, and that's what this guy was doing. So I don't think it was right for Droodles to tell over 90,000 people that this is the worst channel in What Blitz. I do think that was very, very wrong. And then in that video, he went on to Blitz analysis and started going through actual stats. So that is why I'm doing this video, because this is based on actual facts. So I don't care what everybody says or anybody says. You could hate me all you want because we are just going by facts, and this is what we are doing. So in tier 10, the worst performing tank in tier 10. Now these are premium tanks, only premium tanks. So the worst performing tier 10 tank in the last update was the 5A. Now I've already made a video recently on the 5A saying I don't like it, I don't perform well on it, and neither does anybody else by the look of it. So currently the most underperforming tank in tier 10 when it comes to premium tanks is the 5A. Moving up to tier 9. So tier 9 is the T55. Now, I agree with this. I do agree that the T55 is probably the worst tier 9 premium tank in the game. It doesn't perform great. Of course, anybody can have a bad battle or a good battle. They can play this tank and do absolutely amazing. But according to the stats, it is still the worst performing tier 9 premium tank. And yeah, I wasn't surprised to see this, to be fair. Obviously, I have just given 5 of these away, so it can't be that bad. But I wouldn't say the tank is very, very awful. But yeah, it isn't the greatest. It really isn't the greatest. And I'm definitely not surprised that this tank was the worst performing tank. So moving down to tier 8. So this tank I actually like. I really do like this tank, and I was very, very surprised to see this was the worst performing premium tank in tier 8. It is the Centurion 5A. Yeah, I'm very surprised to see this. Like, I think it's a good tank, I'm not going to lie. And if this was to come into stores, then I probably wouldn't sit there and say, guys, don't buy this because it's absolutely shit. I don't think it's shit, but obviously, according to the stats, people does not perform well in it at all. But yeah, you play this tank properly, I think it performs great. I think it is a fantastic tank. Not only a good tank, but when you play it correctly, I think it is a fantastic tank. It's got decent DPM, the speed, you know, everything like that. I think the turret is pretty bouncy, or it can be bouncy. The reload is pretty quick as well. The gun depression is pretty good. Overall, I do think it is a solid tank. You can get bounces, as you can just see here. So far, we've bounced 675. So yeah, very, very surprised that this is the most, the worst tank currently in tier 8 when it comes to premiums. There's a lot of other tanks I would choose over this, honestly. But yeah, according to statistics, do not buy this tank because it doesn't perform very well. Moving on to tier 7. So, tier 7 is also a tank that I do enjoy playing. It is the FV201. Yeah, I like the tank, you know, it's very good DPM, very, very good DPM. It does have a sort of troll armor, especially on the turret, but when you are when you're bottom tier, sorry, you're not going to bounce a lot at all. But the FV201, I think, you know, it is a very good tank when played correctly, and it's like the Comet. It's like a premium Comet. It's a bit bigger than the Comet, but yeah, again, it was a tank that I was actually surprised is the worst performing premium tank in tier 7. I just thought there would be a lot of other premium tanks that doesn't perform as well as this, but yeah, clearly looking on Blitz analysis, if you do go over there, you can see it is the worst performing tank the last update. Now, this does only look at the last update, so it doesn't look at overall, and I'm sure this won't be the worst performing tank like ever, but the current or the last update, it was the worst performing premium tank. Moving on to tier 6, and probably that is as low we're going to go. We're not going to bother with the tier 5s or tier 4s. We're going to stop at tier 6. So moving on to tier 6. And the final one is the Tiger 131. Now, I'm not surprised at this tank, to be fair. If you do look at this tank compared to things like the Tiger 1, I know it's a tier below, and it's pretty much like a more accurate version of the Tiger. Yeah, I don't think this is an amazing tank at all. I don't think the armor profile really works for the tank, and yeah, it's not really that fun to play, and I'm not surprised. With all the current tier 6 premium tanks we've got, some of them are actually really good, I'm not going to lie. Some of them are really, really good. The Panzer 4S, the Cromwell B, I think they are very, very good tanks. This isn't one of them, so I definitely agree that this tank should not be purchased. Nobody should buy this tank because it really isn't a good tank at all. And even though it does come for cheap, I just don't think it is worth it at all. It's a waste of money. It's not going to be a tank that you play regularly if you do own this tank. There's plenty of other tier 6 premium tanks out there, and the Panzer 4S being one of them is a good fun tank to play. It's a solid tank as well. So yeah, tier 6, the Tiger 131. Do not buy this tank. Do not buy anything on this list because they don't perform well. If you look at the stats, none of them perform well, and you should not buy any of them. As I've said, I don't 100% agree with it. There are a couple of tanks that I do think are good. Just because they don't perform well, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy them. You might actually perform quite well in them, but if you're just looking at statistics, then you should stay away from all of these tanks in this list. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, guys. I am meadsyreplays, and I will catch you all soon. Bye bye.
With